So, President Cyril Ramaphosa has officially signed the new pension funds amendment bill. It will provide members of retirement funds with access to part of their savings without having to resign or cash out their pensions. This change is also expected to enhance the members' savings at retirement. Wayne Hiller van Rensburg, who is Executive Officer at the Institute of Retirement Funds Africa, joins us to unpack this further. Wayne, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Is this a step in the right direction? Is this a comprehensive step?
Yes, I think the answer is yes, it is a step in the right direction because this piece of law was needed to make everything happen on the 1st of September. So we're very happy that that's enforced now. The main reason for the holder or for the importance of this is that the tax laws and the pensions laws speak to one another, and this pension law was needed to be able for everyone to be able to do what they need to do to implement the system on the 1st of September. So yes, from the making it happen for now perspective.
Yeah. Okay, and then yes, go ahead. You can finish that thought if you'd like to.
For sure. And then the longer term thing is that people are now going to have access to the money, which is great, but they're also going to be forced to save the money that they can't take. So in the long term, we're definitely going to see better outcomes for people when they get to retirement.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then we obviously need to talk about some of the, I suppose, the bits and bolts of it, right? And we'll get into that. But I'm really quite keen to hear about the process of the implementation. I mean, for instance, Discovery Chief Commercial Officer of Corporate and Employee Benefits is, of course, been concerned about retirement funds that have not submitted their rule amendments, and that needs to be done by the end of July. What does that mean? And what happens if those funds have not, I suppose, submitted their rule amendments?
So without the rule amendment being registered, approved by the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, the funds won't be able to make these payments. And that was the urgency for the FSCA, Financial Sector Conduct Authority, asking funds to submit their rules timeously, or as soon as possible, so that they can make a decision on whether the rules are appropriate. And the one thing that was holding that process up as well was this piece of legislation. So there are two issues. Some funds haven't done it. The FSCA, I think, came out, and I think the FSCA came out and said only 30% of funds have done it. So that's a problem. But the second issue was now they can actually proceed and go ahead and register the rules because they weren't able to do so until now.
Okay, and there aren't any concerns about those that have not done so by now or by the end of July?
There's significant concerns because obviously their members are going to want to be part of the system as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And without those rule amendments being approved, no. So, I mean, what's happening if what the Financial Sector Conduct Authority said is that they will prioritize all rules that are submitted before the end of July. The others will then be dealt with as and when, which means that if you miss this window as a fund, you are possibly not going to be able to give your members access to their money from September because the rules just won't be registered.
Sure, and I'm imagining that. I mean, come the 1st of September, what is it? So between the 1st of September and the 1st of March, there are amounts that members can withdraw and what those limitations are. And perhaps you can give us some of those details so that we can clarify for members.
Just a reminder for everyone is that what's happening now, and I think that's why it's called the two-pot, but we can think about it in broad terms. And you've mentioned it before, so there's going to be a retirement pot. That's the pot you can't touch. And then there's the savings pot, the pot you can access. For now, there's this first year, from September onwards, they're going to give you some money. They're calling it the seed capital, and that's going to be taken from what you've saved already. So if you have more than 300,000 Rand saved, the maximum amount that they'll put into your seeding account is 30,000. So if you've got 300,000, then you'll get 30,000. If you've got $1 million, you'll still get 30,000 if you've saved up, and it's possible that some people have that much. And then the minimum amount is 2,000 Rand. So anybody below, say, 20,000 Rand won't have access at the moment. They'll have to build it up, and I'll get to that now. So there's going to be this lump sum available 1st of September based on those amounts that I've just mentioned. And then from the 1st of September, one third of your contributions are also going to go into that savings pot. And that's what you'll be able to take out going forward. And if you're a high contributor, you'll be able to take out a higher amount, obviously. So it's all going to be based on how much you contribute to your fund and what that's going to build up in your savings pot.
Yeah, very, very interesting. But then I'm imagining that come September, the number of people that go and try and tap into these savings is going to be quite big, Wayne, right? I mean, a lot of people, of course, talking about how they're struggling to make it by. It's tough economic times. We say this all the time, but certainly you can just imagine the traffic that we're expecting then in September.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we've spoken about the rule amendments, which makes it possible for the funds to do it. But then do they have the infrastructure? Basically, have they built enough systems and processes to be able to deal with a large volume? Because the anticipation is that many fund members are going to want to access this, just like you said, because, I mean, many of us are desperate for extra money. So we're literally going to see probably about, and then I don't want to exaggerate the numbers because no one's got a final number. We'll see what once it's happened. But we're probably going to see a couple of million people request access to these savings, which puts a strain on the administrators. So they need to be able to handle this. And it could potentially put a strain on SARS as well, because remember, every cent you get out of a retirement fund is always taxed. So when you apply, your person who's going to help or who's going to make the payment to you is going to have to apply to SARS for a tax clearance, and they're going to then be able to pay you after that. So you can see how complex the potential initial wave of applications are going to be. And I think it's a good thing to consider your expectations of how quickly this can happen.
Yeah.
Will definitely be able to happen on the 1st of September.
Yeah.
Will have to take a couple of weeks,
And the thing is, you've already seen that extension take place for the submission of rule amendments for fund providers. But my concern is just these numbers, because look at this. There are, 900 retirement funds plus minus in the country. According to some reports, only about 131 had submitted their rule amendment applications to the FSCA. 350 yet to submit, are still waiting to submit their rule amendments. So what is the issue? I mean, is it perhaps that there isn't a framework that can be used and shared with all of these respective fund providers? Is that a solution?
In all fairness, I think the Financial Sector Conduct Authority has provided as much guidance as they can at the moment. They've issued two communications guiding people on what needs to be in the rules and the timeline. So that's it. I think a lot of funds were apprehensive about doing this because of the Pension Amendment Act that we have now. There have historically been instances where the law changed at the last minute. I never thought it would happen in this instance, but maybe that was part of the reluctance. So now that this law is signed in, hopefully the other 2/3 of the funds that haven't done it yet will do it now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's speak to the consumer, because I'm watching right now and I'm running into some tough times, and I'm thinking, okay, well, there's something for me to do to get myself out of a little bit of a hole from the 1st of September. How do I know if my service provider has amended their rules and is ready to assist?
So part of the guidance that was given on that is that funds now have to communicate whether they're having difficulty in submitting their rules. So in theory, if there's a problem, you should have received or will receive a communication from your retirement fund saying, we have a problem, this is where we're at, and this is how long we anticipate it's going to take to get to that point where we can provide you with the money in your fund.
Okay, that gives us a lot to think about, and we really, really do appreciate it, Wayne. Thank you so much for speaking to us, giving us that clarity as well. And as we get closer to the end of July, we'll, of course, watch to see which retirement funds are yet to submit their rule amendments to the FSCA. Wayne Hiller van Rensburg, Executive Officer at the Institute of Retirement Funds of Africa, speaking to us there.